Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Highbury in North London to Euston Station in Central London. It's a shorter ride today, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. Also, I want to thank Marcus from Twitter for this route. If anybody else has any suggestions for routes that they'd like to see, then do get in touch. And of course, if you enjoy this video, then make sure you subscribe to the channel because I post new ones like it every week. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting on Highbury Hill here, and you should be able to see the clock tower there. That's a nice local landmark. It was actually put up to celebrate Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, apparently. Now, go past the bus stand and the church and head down this path here on Highbury Fields. It's called Church Path. This is a shared space with pedestrians, so as usual, make sure you're courteous to people, careful, don't go too quickly. And also do watch out for these inopportunely placed lampposts. They look pretty solid and you wouldn't want to collide with any of them, it would probably hurt quite a lot. It's generally a pretty nice ride here, but very quickly we'll be coming off the shared path and we'll be coming onto actually a filtered street here. There is still a path parallel to us on Highbury Fields, but I actually think it's nicer to ride on the road here. There's more space, you're less likely to run into pedestrians or anything like that. If you've been here before, actually, you may remember that there was traffic on this street, but actually the council has closed a lot of the roads off it, so there's not any through traffic on there anymore, which makes it a really nice quiet place to ride. Now, as you come to the end of this street, we'll be arriving at outside Highbury and Islington Station. Now, this junction has actually recently been redone for cycles with protected cycle lanes, and it's actually really good, except the way that we're going, the cycle lanes don't actually go. So what you want to do is you want to cross the road here as a pedestrian, don't go on the cycle crossing to the left of it. Then actually dismount your bike here, because it does say there is a no cycling sign there, and just walk through the square for a very short period of time, and then come around the back of the station here onto Highbury Station Road where the bike parking is, and then just head right down that. As you can probably tell, this is a filtered street, it's a dead end for cars, so you're not going to see any through traffic on it, and it's generally quite a nice ride, although as you can see on the floor here, it probably does need a bit of a resurface, it's a little bit bumpy. This whole ride is about 3 miles, by the way, for people who were asking how long the rides were. Now, when you get to the end of this street, which is very quiet, you'll come out onto Liverpool Road, and Liverpool Road, for anybody that doesn't know, is quite a large, fast road that goes through Islington. But it's recently had pretty decent cycle tracks fitted on it, so we're there, we're behind these nice ones, but we're only on it for a very short period of time, because you want to turn right here. Make sure you check behind you, by the way, to make sure there's no cars trying to overtake you when you turn. Now, you go down Rufford Road, and this is a relatively quiet street as well. You can see there's quite a lot of people just out using it. For the next sort of while of the ride, we're going to be picking our way through reasonably quiet residential streets. This isn't actually a low traffic neighbourhood, but there are quite a lot of filters and one-way streets around here, so it does limit the traffic and it limits the number of useful through routes that there are for motorists. But there is still, as you can see, a little bit of residual traffic left, so maybe this area could be improved a bit. Now you turn right here onto this street, and there was actually no entry sign on this street, and there wasn't an accept cycles sign, which you'd expect to indicate two-way cycling. But if you look on the ground, you'll see there was a contraflow cycle lane and these cycle symbols that suggest that you can go in both directions on this street on a bike. Councils can be a little bit inconsistent with how they let you know that you can cycle both ways down a one-way street. You just have to sort of look high and look low. But I think most councils like Islington, decent councils that care about cycling, will allow you to go two-way on one-way streets generally. Now you turn off left here, and Crescent Street here will take you onto this very nice crescent here. I believe it's called Thornhill Crescent, and it's all around this very nice church. It's a really picturesque part of town, this, I think, and particularly on a sunny day like this. Now, then you want to turn right here onto this dead end street. So it's not a dead end for us because it's closed off with bollards, and yeah, this is really handy. It gives us a bit of filter permeability. You want to look for a gap in the traffic, or you can use that zebra crossing there, and just go straight across the road here onto Tilloch Street. And yeah, this takes you into this estate, which is basically the design of the roads in the estate is also a low traffic neighbourhood. And there's a few ways you can go through the estate. You can actually, if you want to, keep going straight through, kind of through the middle of it. I actually think it's probably a little bit simpler to go around the road, around the side. And this is probably a good time to say, by the way, that if you're enjoying this video, or you find it useful, or you just want to see more like it, then do make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post new videos like this every week, different parts of London, always safe cycle routes, how to get from A to B, via backstreets, via protected cycle lanes, without going on the main roads or having to deal with any traffic. Now, what we're doing here is we're actually heading towards a park that you probably don't know too well if you don't know this area of London. I'd actually not heard of it until Marcus pointed it out. It's called Bingfield Park, and the council are actually redoing a new cycle route here, but it's still pretty good for now. We come out onto this filtered street here, Rufford Street, and you probably don't recognise where we are, to be honest, if you don't know the area that well. But yeah, this is another filtered street. It doesn't have any through traffic on it, so no matter what time of day you come here, you're not really going to be running into too many cars. But as we come out of the street, you might start to recognise where we are a bit better if you know King's Cross well. That coming up on our left is actually York Road tube station, which isn't a tube station anymore. It's been out of use since 1932, but it's a lovely example of a Leslie Green sort of tiled glazed tube station, which is now no longer in use. We're using these new cycle lanes on York Way. They are protected with these little armadillo wands, they call them. They're these little plastic things, and I think they generally work pretty well. They're not quite as nice as curbs, but for temporary materials, they seem to work pretty well. They keep the cars out generally. Now, we're just going over the Regent's Canal, by the way, if that interests you. It helps you find your bearings. And you can see the St Pancras Station clock tower in the distance there. So we're turning off here down Goods Way. Now, unfortunately, when I came today, there was actually some extra construction work going on here. They're building Google's new HQ on the left. Unfortunately, they'd closed the cycle lane, and also, in fact, the entire road was blocked off. Now, so I'm basically just going to work around it for the next couple of seconds. But what you could have actually done is you could have turned right off York Way onto Handyside Street and come through Granary Square and the Art College, which actually is probably a better way to go anyway. It's a little bit quieter, a little bit more interesting. But this only interrupted us briefly because we're still on Goods Way, and this bit of the cycle lane is all grey. Funnily enough, that to the left is actually a taxi rank, a segregated taxi rank for taxis arriving at St Pancras Station, and they have now added segregated cycle lanes to it. But I always thought it was a bit strange because they always had physical separated segregation for taxis before they put it in for bikes, which always seemed a little bit perverse to me. Now, wait for a gap in the traffic and turn right down Brill Place, which I think is a lovely name for a road. I'm sure it's named after somebody whose name was Brill, not because it's particularly brilliant, but, you know, it's a nice connotation. And that's a research institute on the left, by the way, and a vaccination centre there at the moment, if you live in the area. And we're going to keep going straight through here, through this nice filter, which is keeping this street really quiet for us. And these back streets around Somers Town are generally, you know, a pretty nice place to cycle. There's not really a lot of through traffic through here, and there's a lot of filters. There's another filter there, which we're actually not going to be using. This road is a little bit narrow to comfortably cycle on. It's okay, it's not particularly busy, but the parking on both sides doesn't do it any good. Also, it's worth mentioning that just further up here, this road can sometimes be closed during the week for a market. Now, turn off down here down this little alleyway called Churchway. As far as I can tell, you're allowed to cycle on this little street here, but you may want to walk it through, and also just be careful because there's often pedestrians using it and you don't want to go too fast or upset anyone. Now make sure you go up here through Churchway, and we're basically nearly there. You'll turn right at the end of this street, and that'll take you down Grafton towards Euston Station, and that is Euston Station dead ahead of us. Do be careful because sometimes they divert buses around here when there's construction work, which at the moment for the foreseeable future in Euston is all the time. So do be careful. But generally, I think the best way to get to the station now is just to dismount and just cross the road here. And yeah, you're here. You're at the entrance to Euston Station. So thanks very much, guys, for watching. I hope you agree that was actually a really nice route. I was really pleased when I found it out. Thanks to Marcus again for showing it to me. And yeah, see you again next time. Do make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've got any suggestions for other routes or things that you would do differently on this one as well. Thank you very much, and goodbye.